What's a joke that's so stupid it's funny? NoThumbs78 says, knock knock who's there? Quiet horse who? In a whisper, nay. Anastabic says why do seagulls fly over the sea? Because if they flew over the bay they'd be bagels. Universalamused says what's the difference between a dirty bus stop and a lobster with breast implants? One's a crusty bus station, the other is a busty crustacean. Rookie2 Reddit says what's the best thing about Switzerland? Well, the flag's a big plus. KPIOG says to be frank, I'd have to change my name. Bloodborneft says statistically, 6 out of 7 dwarves are not happy. Zoe2070 says how do you think the unthinkable? With an Ithberg Agrit says I bought the world's worst thesaurus today. Not only was it terrible, but it was also terrible. Himinemailshi94 says have you ever smelled mothballs before? How do you get their little legs apart? I_Otta_Starfish twice says the Lepers hockey game was cancelled due to a face-off in the corner. Masterdeek says there are no divorce courts at the North Pole, so when Santa and his wife wanted to split up, they got a semicolon. They're great for separating independent clauses. Conjucoin says why can't the Pope be cremated? Cause he's alive. Cardi44 says a drummer's wife had quadruplets. He wanted to name each one Anna. She asked how they will tell them apart. He replied, Anna 1, Anna 2. Chili Willy 00 says what's the difference between Dubai and Abu Dhabi? People in Dubai don't like the Flintstones but people in Abu Dhabi do. Romy says being told I was deaf was really hard to hear. A Wandering Flame says 2 pretzels were walking down a back alley, one was assaulted. Ashtray_half_full says I told my mum that when I'm older I was going to build a car out of spaghetti. You should have seen her face when I drove pasta. Jishink says why don't chickens wear underwear? Because their pecker is on their face. Bureaucrat Dog says I stole this from online, but I used it at work and got a bunch of laughs. While using the step ladder, someone said, what do you need that ladder for? I replied, I never knew my real ladder. This is just my step ladder. Namey___McNameface says steak jokes are a rare medium well done. 6 Rusty Spoons says 2 hunters are out in the woods when one of them collapses. He doesn't seem to be breathing and his eyes are glazed. The other guy whips out his phone and calls the emergency services. He gasps, my friend is dead. What can I do? The operator says calm down. I can help. First, let's make sure he's dead. There is a silence, then a shot is heard. Back on the phone, the guy says, okay, now what? Frostasauce says what did the grape say when the elephant sat on it? Nothing, but it let out a little whine. 2_legged_pirate says I used to be good at telling jokes, but now I just punch up the fuck line. Tall Darkandancious says why'd the old man fall down the well? Because he couldn't see that well. Puchagenso says a blonde and a lawyer are seated next to each other on a flight from Los Angeles to New York. The lawyer asks if she would like to play a fun game. The blonde, tired, just wants to take a nap, so she politely declines and rolls over to the window to catch a few winks. The lawyer persists and explains that the game is easy and a lot of fun. He says, I ask you a question, and if you don't know the answer, you pay me $5, and vice versa. Again, she declines and tries to get some sleep. The lawyer, now agitated, says, okay, if you don't know the answer, you pay me $5, and if I don't know the answer, I will pay you $500. This catches the blonde's attention and, figuring there will be no end to this torment, agrees to the game. The lawyer asks the first question, what's the distance from the Earth to the Moon? The blonde doesn't say a word, reaches into her purse, pulls out a $5 bill, and hands it to the lawyer. Okay, says the lawyer, your turn. She asks, what goes up a hill with 3 legs and comes down with 4 legs? The lawyer, puzzled, takes out his laptop computer and searches all his references, no answer. He taps into the Air phone with his modem and searches the internet and the Library of Congress, no answer. Frustrated, he sends emails to all his friends and coworkers but to no avail. After an hour, he wakes the blonde and hands her $500. The blonde thanks him and turns back to get some more sleep. The lawyer, who is more than a little miffed, stirs the blonde and asks, well, what's the answer? Without a word, the blonde reaches into her purse, hands the lawyer $5, and goes back to sleep. Theorongfusebox says, why did Edward Woodward have so many D's in his name? Because without them he'd have been called Edward Woowar. Bluedrust says you can't run through a campsite. You can only ran because it's past tense. Clitsmasher 3000 says I saw a nice stereo on Craigslist for $1. Seller says the volume is stuck on high, I couldn't turn it down. Cup_of_madness says I have many jokes about unemployed people. Sadly none of them work. Joanna 810 says a husband and wife were driving through Louisiana. As they approached Natchitoches, they started arguing about the pronunciation of the town. They argued back and forth, then they stopped for lunch. At the counter, the husband asked the blonde waitress, before we order, could you please settle an argument for us? Would you please pronounce where we are very slowly? She leaned over the counter and said, Burger King. Minichaney says a man walked into a zoo. There was one dog. It was a Shih Tzu. AlliteratedO says, what did one nut say when it was chasing the other nut? I am a cashew. Upachimnidown says, what do you get when you combine a dyslexic, an insomniac, and an agnostic, someone who lies awake at night wondering if there's a dog? WhiteWolf_games says, what do you call an alligator in a vest? An investigator. Ryan Thatch says, why do chicken coops have 2 doors? Because if they had 4, they'd be chicken sedans. Full Half Total Eclipse says, what do you call a magic dog? A Labracadabrador. Shenanigans says they say smoking kills, but it cures salmon. Applejack Sandboners says 2 whales are drunk at a bar. One whale says, make long whale cooing noises until everyone around you is pretty uncomfortable. Like I'm not shitting you, at least 1 to 2 full minutes of weird off-pitch whale noises. The other whale says, do a deep inhale like you're about to make more weird whale noises, and so that everyone around you almost gets pissed and unfriends you on Facebook. Go home, Frank. You're drunk. Twisted Star 44 says 2 cows are standing in a field. The first cow says to the second, have you heard about this mad cow disease? It makes cows go crazy and then they die. The second cow replies, good thing I'm a helicopter. Mandayoyaji says a priest, a pastor, and a rabbi walk into a bar. The bartender says, what is this, some kind of joke? Equivalent Minute says, why do scuba divers jump backwards out of the boat? Because if they jumped forward, they'd still be in the boat. To _the_10th_ power says a Mexican magician told his audience he was going to vanish on the count of 3. He counted, 1, 2, and disappeared without a trace. Yanagitan the Sea says, what did Stevie Wonder say to the seagull? I can't see shit. Feardrinker says a pirate walks into a bar. He's walking bow-legged, because he has a steering wheel chained between his knees. The bartender asks the obvious, why do you have a steering wheel chained between your legs? The pirate answers, I don't know, but it's driving me nuts. Wrigley 2 says guy walks up to the widow at her husband's funeral and says, may I just say one word? Sure, she replies. Plethora. The widow says thanks. That means a lot. Dr. Frankenstein says 2 men walked into a bar and the third guy ducked. Deathasatreat says, why did Sarah fall off the swing? Because she had no arms. Knock knock, who's there? Not Sarah.